an interesting program that we are going to learn about that is put on by Caster Concepts Engineering out of Albion. And joining us now is Elmer Lee, head of engineering and the lead mentor for the company's robotics work at the Concord High School. Elmer, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks again.
Great to have you on. So this is something that I'm kind of familiar with. You might have noticed, dear listener, that lots and lots of high schools are now having robotics programs.
Yep.
My younger brother went to Lakeview High School, and he was part of the robotics team, ended up being the captain, and there's a lot of competition in there, just like any other sport. So what do they do, Elmer, at Concord High School with the robotics program?
So we compete in the first robotics program. So Michigan is one of the top states for this program.
Okay.
So we basically are given a task contest in January, and in 6 weeks we got to build a robot, and we start competing in mid-February all the way up until April, where Worlds happens in Detroit.
Oh, wow.
Half of the world goes to Detroit to compete, and it's a phenomenal event.
How well does Concord High School do?
We've been doing pretty good. So I started coaching about 4 years ago. We were ranked about 300th in the state, and this season I think we were about 50th in the state.
That's moving on up.
That is very good, yeah.
So when you say build a robot in a few weeks, that seems kind of wild to those of us who aren't aware of how this works. What is the process of building a robot? Do you have to build it from scratch?
It is absolutely from scratch. So the rules of the contest is you can't pre-build any of your components. You can't pre-engineer any of your components. And so you basically don't know anything about this contest. And every year this contest completely changes.
Oh, so you can't carry over last year's robot to help you out.
There is certain built-in knowledge. We know how to control motors. We know how to control and program our controllers. But everything else is built from scratch.
Man, that is really fantastic. And I've seen some of the videos from these. Like I said, my brother did it. And they are really elaborate setups. There'll be a team of robots, and you have to carry a ball to some point, or you have to score points by hitting targets with a cannon.
Yep.
And
those are awesome.
It is really cool. And it's what I think is awesome about this competitive robotics stuff is it gives kids to be really gives them the chance to be really creative. There's only one way to play basketball. There's a million different ways to solve the problems presented in these competitions.
Yep. But the crux of the problems are always very similar building blocks. So we teach these kids CAD. We teach them computer-aided design. We teach them programming, electronics. And so if you know those building blocks, just like if you know how to dribble a ball, you can play this game, and so that's our goal.
So basically, the way that you would build a robot is what you first get the task, then I'm assuming a lot of brainstorming, figuring out the best way to solve it.
Yeah, we get about we give ourselves about 2 days worth of brainstorming.
Okay.
And then we get into CAD.
And start designing it, and then it's all up to I'm sure there's lots of hiccups along the way, this wheel we designed it sucks, so we need a new wheel.
Yes, no.
I know that you can be working on the robot up until the day of the competition, right?
So there is what in the past there's been something called bag day. So every team in the world has to put their robot into a bag and stop working on it on a specific day.
Okay.
They actually got rid of that recently. So this competition coming in 2020 is going to be bagless.
Oh.
Which I'm looking forward to because I hated that rule.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because it could be you show up the day of, you see some of your competitors and think, they all look weak to this, and so you could make some quick adjustments.
Yep, and that's the name of the game is adapt, or die.
And I'm sure that these are all skills that'll lend well into a career related to robotics. We're speaking with Elmer Lee from Caster Concepts Engineering. This wonderful program Caster Concepts has to give high school students a chance to get into it, shall we say, get into the jobs of working at an engineering company. And one of the ways that you guys do that is through an internship program.
Yep.
It's paid internship program,
Absolutely.
which is something I always appreciate.
Yeah.
It's good to see people paid for their labor. So, Elmer, how are these kids that you take on in your internship selected?
So it's through my involvement with the high school. So when I mentor, I get to know these kids very, very well.
Hmm.
And so I understand their skill sets. I understand what they're excelling in, and so I get to choose 3 or 4 of the top students from the team and offer them internships during the summer.
And this gives them a chance, especially, some kids. Well, if you're in the robotics club, you're probably interested in engineering and CAD and all that stuff. But you can probably figure out which ones real quickly are interested in a further career of that in that field.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I would say that of the 20-25 kids that we have at Concord, um, maybe half of them are interested in engineering. The other half are just interested in being part of a great team.
Hmm.
Um,
So, whenever these 6 kids are brought on for the internship, what do they do at Caster Concepts?
So they do different things that they've learned during the season. So they do some CAD work for us,
Hmm.
drawing parts, building test, designing test devices. They also do lots of programming and wiring for us. So we build heavy duty industrial casters, things that move industrial equipment around, and things that move parts from point A to point B.
Hmm.
And that's what this contest in First Robotics teaches, is how to pick up parts, how to move parts. And so they're helping us to build products for our customers.
And I just it just came to me, but if someone is taught engineering from a competitive mindset or from a contest mindset, it might give them a kind of a maybe different problem solving perspective than someone who maybe has only gotten a degree. You know what I mean, in engineering.
It certainly makes them very applied. So it's not a
Yes.
theoretical subject anymore. So they know how things can go wrong,
Hmm.
and they understand how to deal with problems when you just something hits you in the face, and
Yeah.
and you just have to deal with it, right?
Yep.
So they learn all of that during this contest and during our internship program.
And I have to say, what's great about something like a summer internship is, my brother, he was in the robotics program at Lakeview, and he actually went through something similar with a company out here at Fort Custer. And what he found in his summer internship wasn't for him. And
Okay.
in some ways, that's good because he learned, okay, I've done the work in real life,
Hmm.
and it's not for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good opportunity as well. I mean, about how many of these kids who go through your internship program actually end up getting a career in that field or going to college for that?
So we've been doing internships for about 3 years, and so
Hmm.
we've only had 1 or 2 kids go into college. None of them have graduated yet,
Uh-huh.
but the 2 or 3 that I've had as interns are currently doing degrees at Michigan Tech, at Jackson College, hoping to get to places like University of Michigan or yes,
Western Michigan,
Western
right?
Michigan, absolutely. And so they're hoping to do engineering degrees and graduate, and we're hoping that we are strong enough that we allow them to stay in our community
Hmm.
and work in that community.
Yeah, that's another great thing about a program like this for the company is if you have someone who is familiar with Caster through the work they did at the high school. They were your mentor at the at the robotics team, for
Right.
example. Then you go to a summer internship. That's going to be top of your mind whenever you're out of college looking for
Absolutely.
someone to hire you.
This is our best recruiting.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a great way to retain that talent. This is an investment, really, when you think about it.
Absolutely. And that's how I've convinced my boss uh, to fund this, because he sees this as a long growth plan for our company and our community.
All right. How much? I'm not familiar with STEM degrees. I've never gotten one.
Okay.
This is not a very engineering heavy field, at least from my perspective. We have an engineer to handle all the electronic stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, is it like a regular degree, like a 4-year degree to
It is
get
a
an
4 year
engine?
degree. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so you spend the first couple of years learning your basic math,
Hmm.
sciences, but then you spend the last 2 years of the 4 degree doing applied stuff. So doing labs, doing design work, and that's really where you see people shine.
Okay.
Uh, it becomes much less theoretical and far more hands-on.
Hmm.
That's why I fell in love with manufacturing. It's
Yeah.
because I could start using my hands, building things, getting things out onto the floor, and seeing if they work.
I guarantee you that if you were to chuck a box of Legos into into your offices, you'd have a
Yes,
ton of interesting stuff by the end of the day.
yes, absolutely.
Speaking with Elmer Lee from Caster Concepts Engineering, they've got this really cool program where they mentor kids at the Concord High School and get them familiar with robotics, and then you can bring on some of them for summer interns. But and I spoke to you during the break. I said that's a little East Albion and eastward focused. But there's a plan to bring this kind of mentorship way beyond the scope of that, and it's called the Innovation Hub. Elmer, what's the Innovation Hub?
Sure. So Caster Concepts bought a building in Albion. It's located at 200 East Center Street. It used to be a Masonic temple, and then a few years ago it was a dress shop. We're turning it into basically a robotics training hub. We're inviting all the teams, all the students in the area from Battle Creek to Jackson to come and train with us. To right now, I've got 6 interns at Caster Concepts. This we call it Innovate Albion. This hub will let us put 30 interns into that hub, and they can spend the entire summer developing, designing robotics technology, working to hone their skills, and really make their skill sets job applicable. So when they graduate high school, they'll have people clamoring to hire them.
Man, that sounds really cool. Are we looking to have this working this summer, or is it like a next summer type thing?
We're in the mode to be open this summer. So
all right.
Actually, this week we are planning to give free tutorials on SolidWorks, which is a CAD program, at the hub. So if there are people interested in joining us this week, I guess to reach out. How would they reach out? They can always email at innovatealbion@gmail.com if they want to attend, or just look us up.
Yeah, innovatealbion@gmail.com, or just I'm sure if you Google Innovate Albion or Caster Concepts, you'll find your way to where you need to go.
Yeah,
and that sounds like a really cool way to bring kids together during the summer, especially because not a lot of stuff happens. Kids lose gray matter, and they start.
I remember that.
Yeah, so those kids who were in the robotics program at school and they're looking to scratch that itch, this Innovate Albion Hub seems like a really great way to do it. So I guess that just about wraps it up. Elmer, is there anything else you'd like to let people know about?
No, I think if anyone's interested in robotics, reach out to your high school. They probably have a first team because it's pretty huge in Michigan.
Yeah, it is. That's something I learned. Every high school really does have one. You may not realize it.
Yeah.
But they're there and they're doing a lot of really cool stuff. And it is, in my opinion, not to be biased, in my opinion, it is probably the most effective competitive sport in terms of career training, career looking forward. I mean, everyone likes basketball and football, but less than 1% of any of them even move on to the next level.
Right.
So, I support high school sports, but if we're looking at, career opportunities, robotics really is the one to go for.
Our tagline is it's a sport where everyone can go pro, right? And that's absolutely true.
All right, that's a nice place to end it, Elmer. Thank you so much for coming in, telling us about this wonderful program. Yeah. Elmer Lee from Caster Concepts Engineering in Albion. Look up innovatealbion@gmail.com if you're interested in that hub. Really cool stuff.